Allison. Tell me
Hi.
your name, your title, and where you work.
So my name is Allison Hill, and I'm a Senior Vice President with Baptist Healthcare. And specifically, I'm the President and CEO of Lakeview Center, which is the human service part of the healthcare system.
Okay, so knowing they're high school students, what is the role of a CEO at Lakeview Center?
So the role of the CEO, it actually is different every day depending on what's going on. But generally, what I'm responsible for is making sure that the organization runs like it's supposed to run, that we're being true to the reason we were created, that we are taking care of the community, that we're taking care of our team. We look at strategy and how do we continue to grow. You know, our mission is helping people throughout life's journey. And so in order to do that, we've got to make sure we're spending dollars wisely, that we understand the needs of the community, and my job is to make sure that all of that is happening.
Okay, that's really cool. So what is your favorite?
Is it really cool or is it really boring?
I think it's awesome. I'm geeking out over here. I don't know what they think, but I'm like, ooh, I love it. So what is your favorite thing about your job?
My favorite thing about my job is the mission of the organization. It's about helping people. And that mission matches who I am as a person. And I strongly believe that when you are at the place you're supposed to be, when you're doing the work that you're supposed to do because it's who you are as a person, you're going to be super happy. And it's going to be really easy and you're going to love coming to work. And you need to love to come to work because you spend a lot of time there. And if you are miserable, that's just, nobody wants to live like that. So what I love about my job is that I like helping people, and I get to come to work and I actually get paid to do that job.
That's awesome. So I know we talked a little bit earlier about your journey to get here, so I want to talk about that now. What was your kind of favorite subject in school, in high school, college, and then what was your first job? And let's talk about that.
Yeah, because it's kind of interesting.
Yes.
You know, you don't go to school and just get a degree that says, okay, now you can be a CEO. You know, there's a long, winding journey for many folks to get there. So for me, that journey started in high school, actually. I took an accounting class my senior year of high school, and I loved it. You know, everything balanced, the world was right, birds were singing, rainbows in the sky. I just knew that that's what I was supposed to do. So not everybody is that fortunate, but I was pretty lucky that when I started college, I knew I wanted to get an accounting degree. I went to University of West Florida. I got my bachelor's there, and then I stayed for one more year and got my master's in accounting. And then I worked in public accounting at Saltmarsh, Cleveland & Gund. And I was there for 10 years, and Lakeview was an audit client. And so I had the opportunity to interview my future employer, which not many folks do. It was definitely a blessing for me. So when I was asked to join this organization, it was a really easy decision. I mean, I loved my job in public accounting. That too, numbers, balancing, putting bows on things, that worked for me. But I knew I was coming to a mission-based organization, and I didn't hesitate to do that. So I had a lot of roles in finance within the organization. I was the chief financial officer. And then when the former CEO got ready to retire, he asked me if I'd ever considered taking his job, which I hadn't actually ever considered taking his job. I was a very good finance person. I was a very good chief financial officer. But with his encouragement and the more that I thought about it, I thought that was a challenge that I was ready to take on. And so I have been with Lakeview for 20 years, and I have been the CEO for about 2.5.
Okay, so I'm going to skip around on some of my questions. So I think you kind of hit on a lot of these things, but maybe even in your accounting job and where you are now, obviously your career was much more than just having a GPA. What else helped you? Internships Network. Tell me a little bit about how it helped get you where you are today, or even your first job.
So I would tell you probably maybe even more than just grades and studying how I approach things. The thing that helped me get where I am today is mentors and relationships with people. You know, I joke that this is actually the only job I've ever had in all of my professional career that I actually had to interview and fight for. You know, I've always had people help me along the way. I had somebody help me get the job at Saltmarsh. I had somebody help me get the job at Lakeview. And those mentors set me up for success. And they did that some by creating those opportunities for me, but they also helped me by giving me very honest feedback. When I did things right, they would let me know. When I did things wrong, they would also let me know that. Because if you can't take that feedback, you don't ever grow, you don't ever get better. So find people who care about you, who care about your success, and they will change. Over my career, it's been several different people. They will change, but just know that you can't do it by yourself. It helps to have somebody who's looking out for you.
So let me ask you this, in that the mentorship is amazing, but where did you go to college? Do you need a degree for your job? And what is your degree in? Well, I think you already mentioned what your degree in.
Yeah, so also I went
did.
to University of West Florida, and I have a bachelor's in accounting and a master's in accounting. To do the CEO job, you have to have a degree. You have to have an advanced degree. It's interesting, though, that prior to me, the CEO was also an accounting major degree. Prior to that, the CEO was a psychologist. So an advanced degree is necessary, but it depends on the organization that you're looking to work for, and what the board of that organization wants in their leader. And there's a lot of different kind of nonprofits and for-profits. Every company has a CEO. They have somebody who's in charge. And so your field of study really could be pretty wide open if you know that's what you want to do one day. But you need to think about the kind of work really that makes you happy, so you know where to study, so that you know what kind of company you're looking for.
So what is your normal day like?
There's actually no normal day, which is fantastic. I will tell you, I spend a lot of time in meetings. I'm not sure that people find that very interesting, but that's where discussions happen about things that are working, things that aren't working. That's where you make connections with community stakeholders and with team members. And how you run your business is you have to be out and about. You can't sit in your office working on a computer, which I also love, but I can't do that all the time because that's not where work happens. So you have to be out and about. So I spend a lot of time in meetings and talking about needs in the community and needs of staff and problem solving, a lot of time problem solving.
What do people find difficult about your job?
I think probably the thing that people most respond when I say what my job is, they just say, wow, that's a big job. And I think what they mean is there's a lot of decisions that have to get made. And that's probably the hardest part of the job, because you don't always have all the information you need. But as the CEO, folks are looking at you to make a decision. So I make lots and lots of decisions. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not good, and those I try to recover from, and we move on to the next thing.
My husband and I always say there'll be days where we have to put on big boy pants.
That's
put
right.
on big girl pants. Got
That's
a big
right.
decision, and it's a gut check.
That's right.
It's tough. It can be scary. Leaders don't have all the answers.
That's exactly right.
You take the risks.
That's exactly right.
Well, what is the salary range for your career? Maybe starting off as an incoming accountant, if that would be the way, or CPA,
Sure.
And then going into a CEO. What is the range? I know it's huge.
It is huge, and so starting as an accounting, in the field of accounting, coming out of school with your degree, you're probably looking at about $50,000 to $54,000 a year. And I would say that's in public practice. If you work for a private company, depending on how large they are, that salary still might be appropriate. It might actually be a little bit lower, because that company's having to do a lot of training for you, and they may not have big departments, and that's just kind of what the demand is. The salary for CEO, it's just, the range would be as low and as high as you can possibly imagine. You have to look at the size of the company that you're going to work for. I know some nonprofits in town, their CEOs, may make $60,000 a year if it's a smaller budget or number of staff. And then there's CEOs in towns, even of nonprofits, that are making, $500,000 a year. So it depends on the industry you're in, the size of the organization, the work that you're doing. The potential is there. That's what I would tell you, though, is the potential is there to make a good living. You just have to find that balance between making money and what your heart's desire is, what your life mission is, because that's how you're going to choose the work. And yes, you need money to pay your bills, but you also need to be happy going to work every day. or just paying your bills makes for a very miserable adulthood.
So I think one other thing that you told me, which was very interesting, talking about what you like, is you said you're not good at math.
I'm not good at math. Yeah, it drives my husband crazy because he can divide everything in his head. And I'm like, let me get my calculator. For simple math, let me get my calculator. So in school, I would say my favorite subject was probably English. I love to read, love to read. And through the season of life, sometimes you read because you have to, like when you're in school. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get to the point you're reading technical literature because you're starting your career. And then now I'm at the point where I do a lot of reading just for fun. I like to read. And I like to write. I don't like to creative write. If I have to put a poem together, it's a super terrible poem. I'm not good at it at all. But doing research and trying to make a point, doing very logic kind of based writing, I love that. And I think even more so than math, because in accounting, if you can use a calculator, you don't actually have to be good at math. You can be good at accounting with a calculator. But being able to build a logical argument, being able to look at data, look at information, try to piece it together to problem solve, I think that's why I enjoyed the English, the writing so much, because it really helps you form good arguments and figure out how to problem solve and make good decisions.
Well, I'm so excited to hear your story, and I'm so glad you shared it with us today, because you're the second person where the subject versus the career and the things totally don't add up. But
Yeah.
I think it's going to, again, inspire our students to look at who they are, discover who they are, kind of enjoy that journey and start to make some dots so that they can connect things and go, oh, this makes sense now.
Yeah.
Allison, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.